I'm a biologist, and the central theorem of our subject, the theory of design, Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection, in professional circles everywhere, it's of course universally accepted.
You start from very simple life, and eventually you get everything that we have around us, from elephants to alligators to chimpanzees and everything in between.
According to Chen, the fossils he's discovered turned Darwin's tree of life upside down.
Darwin's tree reverse condition very unexpectedly. Our research is convincing major phyla starting down below at the beginning of Cambrian. Base is wide, gradually narrow, so this is almost turned on different way.
If people have lower back pain, that would not be proof of an ape-like ancestor, and that would be the opposite of evolution.
No, it would not be the opposite of evolution.
Yes, it is.
I would love to explain why it's not.
Okay, where's an example of where we're gaining something new?
We're gaining the ability to walk on two legs and thus have two appendages separate from both legs.
Who taught you that? And why did you believe it? I didn't teach you that. Now, I gotta come here more often. That's just what I need. Okay. I'll come here as often as you can find somebody to debate me, brother. You can call me.
You all know that evolution argues that we share a common ancestor with the great apes, the chimpanzee, the gorilla, and the orangutan. Well, if that's true, there should be genetic similarities, and in fact there are. So we have 46, they all have 48. That's very interesting. I would say I believe in a designer, but you know what? I don't believe in a deceptive one. I don't believe in one who would do this to try to fool us. And therefore, I think this is authentic, and it tells us something about our ancestry.
Number of chromosomes is an interesting study. It is indeed true that chimps have 48, humans have 46. Tobacco also has 48. Amoebas have 50, and they say we came from Namibia, yet they've got more chromosomes than we do. Chickens and dogs both have 78. They're identical twins. The fern has the most chromosomes. That's the ultimate goal of all evolution, to become a fern. So the similarities, I think, are evidence of a common designer.
We haven't absolutely proved it yet. We haven't absolutely proved anything.
I would encourage you students to open your mind just a little bit and think about possibly, it could be, just like when people were taught the earth was flat and later they found out, oops, that's wrong. And somebody taught, oh, well, big rocks fall faster than little rocks because Aristotle says so. That was taught for 2,000 years, and it's wrong. And some of you are being taught in this university that you evolved from a rock 4.6 billion years ago. Well, it's wrong. You were designed by an all-wise, super-intelligent creator who loves you and would like to forgive your sin and take you to heaven, but if you want to go to hell, that's your business, okay?
But here I want to say something nice about creationists. It's not a thing I often do, so listen carefully. I think they're right about one thing. I think they're right that evolution is fundamentally hostile to religion. I've already said that many individual evolutionists like the Pope are also religious, but I think they're deluding themselves. I believe a true understanding of Darwinism is deeply corrosive to religious faith. Now, it may sound as though I'm about to preach atheism, and I want to reassure you that that's not what I'm going to do. In an audience as sophisticated as that, as this one, that would be preaching to the choir. No, what I want to urge upon you... Instead, what I want to urge upon you is militant atheism. But here I only want to make the point that the elegance of Darwinism is corrosive to religion, precisely because it is so elegant, so parsimonious, so powerful, so economically powerful. It has the sinewy economy of a beautiful suspension bridge. The God theory is not just a bad theory, it turns out to be in principle incapable of doing the job required of it. So returning to tactics and the evolution lobby, I want to argue that rocking the boat may be just the right thing to do. My approach to attacking creationism is unlike the evolution lobby. My approach to attacking creationism is to attack religion as a whole.
If they value their careers, they should keep quiet about their intelligent design views.
I was viewed as an intellectual terrorist.
I have never been treated like this in my 30 years in academia.
I lost my job.
It's a funny thing that questions that aren't properly answered don't go away.
How did we get from an inorganic world to the world of the cell?
It might have started off on the backs of crystals.
So you have no idea how it started?
No, nor has anybody.
Nor has anyone else. So
but that's putting it too negatively. If I was a person who were interested in preserving religious faith, I would be very afraid of the positive power of evolutionary science, and indeed science generally, but evolution in particular, to inspire and enthrall, precisely because it is atheistic.
Intelligent designers believe that God is the designer.
God is about as unlikely as fairies, angels, hobgoblins, etc.
Science makes no use of the hypothesis of God.
I mean, it's essentially official policy of the National Academy of Science that religion and science will not be related.
There are people out there who want to keep science in a little box where it can't possibly touch a higher power, cannot possibly touch God.
Standard creationist argument, there is only one, they all reduce to this one, takes off from statistical improbability. Living creatures are too complex to have come about by chance, therefore they must have had a designer. This argument, of course, shoots itself in the foot. Any designer capable of designing something really complex has to be even more complex himself.
Now, Dawkins goes on to defend the idea that a designer wouldn't be a good explanation because he says the hypothesis of a divine designer is more complex than the world that you're trying to explain. An explanation has to be simpler than the phenomenon you're trying to explain, and he thinks a divine designer is less simple than the world, the universe involving all this complexity. Well, that is completely mistaken. When you reflect on the idea that God is an immaterial entity, a spirit, he is a mind without a body, then God is a remarkably simple entity because he has no parts. There's no composition in God's being. An unembodied mind is an entity that is startlingly simple in its nature. So what Dawkins is obviously confused is a mind's ideas, which may be very complex, with a mind itself, which is a very simple entity. So insofar as you're interested in simplicity, the hypothesis of a divine designer is certainly an advance in simplicity, for what it's worth, over the unexplained, contingent complexity of the universe with all its diversity and variations. So I think that Dawkins' central argument is just hopeless. It is logically invalid on the face of it, and moreover, it's predicated upon premises that I think are clearly false.
Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. In professional circles everywhere, it's of course universally accepted.
My name is Oktay, I'm a medical doctor from Turkey, a brain surgeon, and I Dr. Yahya, who is from Turkey, who is author of more than 300 books and the Creation Atlas, which has made many of it. Now, if you talk about scientific theories, you know, this is the way it works. First you propose a hypothesis, and if it is verified by the observation of experiments, it becomes a theory. So, you know, speakers talked about some allegations.
I'm sorry, again, this is time for questions.
Yes, I will ask my question.
Formulate a question.
Yes,
formulate a speech.
Yes, and speakers made some allegations, but they were not verified by scientific evidences. For example, if evolution would be a fact...
I'm sorry, what is the question?
Yes, that's my question. If evolution is a fact, you know, Darwin suggested there should be successive minor changes between species. So we have to see transitional forms. You know, transitional forms.
Sir,
yeah.
Do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. I will ask
you are not asking a question. Please ask a brief question.
Transitional forms. We have to see the evidence of transition. We have
Sir, okay, very good.
Can you show us?
We want transitional forms.
Can you show us transitional forms, monstrous animals with no wings, for example, single wing, little bit wing? So that shows with incomplete organs in transition.
I'm sorry, you are ruled out of order. Your question will not be answered.
Yes. Okay, the guys who say architects are not transitional forms. They are complete animals. Architects is a modern word. And it can be.
Is there any way to turn the microphone off or remove it?
But it's
not fair. It's out of order. You are violating the rules.
Why? Because this is a scientific discussion. And
no, it's not scientific discussion. As I made it clear.
It would be evident.
Let us take the microphone now, please. Yes.
I'm not the speaker. I'm asking a question to show transitional forms. And can we feel it? Can we explosion? The violence that they are.
Thank you very much. Any question to this speaker, brief, to the point of Professor Futuri? Please come up. Please come to the microphone. Thank you very much. Before we open for discussion, I am going to take a few minutes to deal with the matter that Professor Auleta asked me to do, which is he raised the question of what do I see as the most interesting issues in evolutionary biology today. The responses I have to give is obviously going to be a very personal one. That what issues do I see as interesting today? I hope we can resolve the matter somehow. It's inviting to read.